Welcome to our new video on the living world. Once upon a time, in a land far, far away, there was a kingdom called the living world. This kingdom was filled with all sorts of creatures, big and small, that all had a special role to play. The ruler of this kingdom was a powerful being called Diversity. Diversity was in charge of making sure that all the creatures in the kingdom were different and unique. She made sure that no two creatures were exactly the same, and that each one had its own special qualities. Diversity had many helpers, called taxonomists, who helped her classify and group all the creatures in the kingdom. They would look at the creatures' physical characteristics, such as their shape, size, and color, and use that information to put them into different groups. One day, a group of taxonomists discovered a new creature in the kingdom. It was a small, furry animal with big eyes and a long tail. They didn't know what group to put it in, so they went to Diversity for help. Diversity examined the creature and decided to put it in a group called mammals. She explained that all mammals have certain characteristics in common, such as having hair or fur and producing milk to feed their young. The taxonomists were happy with Diversity's decision and went on to classify more creatures in the kingdom. They found that there were many different groups of creatures, such as birds, fish, and reptiles, each with their own unique characteristics. As the journey went on, the taxonomists and the sea creatures learned about the different characteristics of the living organisms, their classification, and the importance of understanding the diversity of living organisms. They also learned about the different groups of organisms such as Munera, Protista, fungi, plantae, and animalia and their characteristics that make them different from one another. As the sea creatures and the taxonomists continued their journey through the living world kingdom, they came across many different creatures and learned about the different ways of classifying them. The octopus, who was an expert in taxonomy, explained that all living organisms could be classified into different groups based on their characteristics. He told them that these groups were arranged in a hierarchical manner, with the most general group at the top and the most specific group at the bottom. The octopus showed them the different levels of classification, starting with the kingdom, then the phylum, class, order, family, genus, and species. He explained that each level of classification had its own characteristics and criteria for grouping organisms. He also told them that the classification of organisms into these groups helps in understanding the relationship between different organisms and how they evolved. He also explained that by classifying organisms into these groups, it becomes easier to identify, name, and study them. The sea creatures were fascinated by the system of classification, and the octopus reminded them that the classification of organisms is an ongoing process. As new organisms are discovered and new information is gathered, the classification system is modified accordingly. As they bid farewell to the octopus and returned home, the sea creatures were filled with a sense of wonder and appreciation for the amazing animals that lived in the ocean and the knowledge they gained from this journey. As time went on, the taxonomists and the sea creatures made many more discoveries in the living world kingdom. They found that there were many different types of creatures, each with their own special place in the kingdom. And so, the kingdom of living world continued to thrive and flourish, with Diversity and her team of taxonomists making sure that all the creatures were properly classified and understood. The end. This is a summary of the first chapter, The Living World, from Class 11th Cert Biology book. It covers the importance of taxonomy and classification and understanding the diversity of living organisms and the different characteristics of different groups of living organisms like Munera, Protista, fungi, plantae, and animalia. And the different levels of classification of living organisms, such as kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, and species, and the importance of understanding the relationship between different organisms and how it helps in the identification, naming, and study of organisms. We hope you enjoyed our video on the living world. We hope the story-based format helped you to understand the chapter better. If you have any questions or feedback, please reach out to us. Thank you for joining us and stay tuned for more exciting content.